I've cut some pieces out for the bottom already and even glued one on. Just use pins like you do with a normal model, just and a good layer of glue. I can probably take that off now and let that sort of form its shape through there, cut it around that, and this one here goes on the other side and bends down like that. Before I did it, I traced around some fiberglass just to make it a little bit easier and get the right size. Cut those out while I had those there too. And better too if you cut all the pieces, draw all the pieces out first for the top and all the rest of it, and that way you can reach through the bottom to draw around them and makes it a little bit easier to get it more accurate. Also with the side pieces, I've used a bit of steam coming out of the jug just to bend it and make it a little bit more easier to get it to the right shape and put that on. You've got to remember too that this doesn't have to be accurate, just reasonable, because it's all going to get covered with fiberglass, and then once that's on, then you can worry about getting it all perfect and shear line and beautiful. But once again, this was only ever meant for taking a fishing line out to sea. It's just got to be operational. It doesn't have to look good. As long as it does that job, who cares what it looks like? So yeah, that's that one. Hi everyone, I just thought I'd give you a bit of a catch up. I can't even remember where I'm up to, part 4 or 5 or something, it doesn't really matter. I just thought I'd show you how I got on with the fiberglassing of it, and I've finished doing the whole thing now except for the keel. There's a couple of little things because I've never done it before, so apart from a couple of minor things, so it's all a bit of a learning curve for me too. So I've actually used 2 different types on there, and one of them on the bottom is the chopped stuff there, and that's very thick on there. And then I thought that's just too hard, it leaves a really rough finish and there's a lot of work to sort of smooth it out a bit. But on the rest of it I used the material stuff, woven stuff, and you use a lot less resin on there, and it comes up a lot smoother and it even looks better. So I'll show you what I mean. This stuff here is the woven stuff, which is what I prefer for this sort of a job. You do have to handle it fairly carefully because it pulls apart fairly easily, but the beauty of this stuff is that it goes around corners and curves and contours really well, and as I say, you use a lot less resin for it too. The stuff I used before is this chopped stuff here. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, yeah, it's not as good, I don't reckon, and it's a lot messier as well. So, and that's quite thick. Now that's definitely something if you really want something heavy duty. So the only other thing that I've done since the last video is the keel. You might remember that it had a really big keel on it that came right up around here. And that was done on purpose because I didn't know where things were going to go. And I have shaved it off a little bit already. Probably needs to come a bit more for that front part. But what I'll do is I'll sort of meld that all into one so that it looks a little bit better. Might not take it down too much more, and then just tidy it all up, make it look nice, and then maybe put a bit of fiberglass over that as well. But as you can see, it's coming out really well, and it's got a nice shear line shape to it. It won't be long before I can get a bit of paint on it. So what's got to happen next obviously is once all the radio gear goes back into it, I'll have to join up the motors onto the bottom here and put through the bottom some sort of a tube perhaps for the wires to go through to join up to the circuitry. And then on the top, once all that's done, I have to put in the top part. That'll have a rubber seal around it and a couple of bolts that will pull this down really tight to keep it watertight. And off the back here somewhere I need to have some sort of an arrangement. It won't have to be very high, just a small aluminium arrangement that I can attach the aerial to, which obviously a more flimsy aerial will come right up a lot higher. Being in the sea, it's going to need a bit of height so the waves don't sort of knock out the radio signal. So yeah, and once that's on, it's getting very close to finishing. So yeah, good luck with your effort if you're having a crack. Hi there, time for another quick update. As you can see, I've done quite a bit more work on it now. I've finished covering it and put all the fiberglass on there, and I've had to put filler on there because I made such a mess of things, but and it took quite a bit of sanding. It's definitely not perfect, but as I say, it's only meant for a purpose. It's not meant to look pretty, but what the hell, it's hopefully going to do the job. So what I can say though is I used that really thick stuff on the bottom, and it took quite a bit of filler to even get remotely smooth. So I would definitely steer away from that stuff and use this woven fabric that you can put on, and you can easily fill it if you want to, but I mean it leaves quite a neat finish anyway. So that's around the top there, that's where I've overlapped it a bit, so that's why it looks a bit nasty, but it doesn't matter. It's strong and it will help it stay waterproof as well. So also on the top I've made a cover that will screw down on that. I'll get that in a minute. And on the bottom you can see I've put one of the motors on. It's just bolted onto that fin, and the wires, you can see it, the wires go through the a hole in the bottom, and I'll just pull silicone all around that to keep it waterproof. And you can see the motor is in there nice and flush with the edge, and that cap is not glued on yet, but I've just glued that in there with silicone. So, and another quick look at one by itself. Just put that in there like that, and glued with silicone. So, easy. Now I'll just grab the top. So this is the top bit, just a couple of holes in there. Put that down there for a sec, and just, it's actually still got wet paint, that's why I'm holding it like I am. But you can see that sits on there quite nicely, and that'll have a couple of wing nuts with some big rubber washers on there to hold it down nice and tight. There'll be a rubber seal going in all the way around this as well to keep it watertight. And then once that's done, I'm going to use this piece of aluminium. It's really cheap to buy. I don't think it only costs $6 for this length, and you only need probably about that long. It'll go through here on an angle like that, and just bend it over, and eventually I'll put bloody hell, I'll put the aerial. They'll come through here. Once again, it will have a bit of sealer on there to stop it, and the aerial will wrap around that and go to the top, and it will give it a good strong aerial, so that if a big wave smashes over it, it's going to be okay, hopefully. So yeah, so that's just where I'm up to at the moment, and getting ever so closer to launch day. So yeah, back soon. Hi guys, just another quick installment. I've done a few extra little things I'll just add on to the end of this video, and just quickly, I've just painted this a wee bit now, and I've tried to use fluoro paint, and it's really difficult to use to go on even, so I advise against that. I'm probably going to have to do something else with the design to get it looking a bit more even, maybe put some black around it or something like that. And I've tried also to just sort of blend in on the RCN the green fluoro paint just to make it look a bit special, but yeah, it might not work out quite how I envisaged it, but that doesn't matter. Like I say, it's there to do a job. Also, what I've done too is made up the aerial, which is going to sit on the back there like that, coming from the receiver. And I've been a bit fortunate because I had this piece of aerial that had fallen off a truck that did some work out our way once, and I could never find the guy to give it back to him. But so I've used that. Also, I've used this tubular aluminium, and you can buy these a metre or so, or a metre and a half, or whatever it was. That cost about $7 or something like that at Bunnings. And also this cost $12. This piece of angle, you can't call it angle iron, but angle aluminium, to do the flat pieces. So what I did was I just heated that up in the middle and then hammered it flat, and then bent it to shape, and then did the same with the ends here so that I could put some rivets through them. And this angle here, I've just bent up some sides on it around the back so that I can rivet it through there to hold it on nice and strong. Plus another piece going across the top. All that does is hold the aerial in place. It'd probably work without that aerial, but it's better to be safer than sorry. And I'll wind the wire all around it that comes off the receiver. We'll show that a bit later on. And I've just used a fencing crimp and crimped the aerial on there, plus a brass bolt underneath it, which I can take it out with. And then there's another little bolt on the top, which has got the wire on it, just on there. So that's where I'm at this stage, and I'm going to get some stickers made with the name of the craft on it. Sounds a wee bit over the top, I know. Plus a little thing on the deck that's going to have my name and phone number in case this thing gets lost at sea. If it ends up in Fiji, oh well, someone's going to have an early Christmas. Anyway, that's it for now.